What that meant was Annex I countries, developed countries, working with developing nations to transfer technology, clean technology, green technology, into projects in Russia, and then in return receive either a financial reward or carbon credits back. Now, that saved an awful lot of carbon dioxide greenhouse gas emission to atmosphere, but it created a lot of heartache and a very unstable platform going forward, because a lot of the technology might have been invested in one project, but that technology was exploited and taken into other projects without the right returns coming back. A very bad experience for all. I have to say that that's changed. I have been out to China recently. I haven't been to India, but certainly in China, I know that the Chinese are already developing their own green technologies. I've seen some of them. I've sat and talked to regulators in Beijing and in Shanghai, and they themselves want to protect their own green technologies because they know all too well that it's so easy to simply exploit. So I would say that this problem of exploitation is now reducing. What that means is that the only bar to innovation is about supply and demand, and I think we've heard enough about supply and demand a moment ago for you to see where I'm going with that, and I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I have one last slide, so I'm okay. Greenwashing. Well, when I said to my colleague, Stephen, who's in the audience, about greenwashing, he said, yes, I have another name for it. I'm not going to tell you what that was, but mine is greenwashing. And that's about making green claims that you can't actually substantiate. And I think this is really important. We have had in the past verification of green claims. It's the same if you're selling a company and you put out a prospectus, an information memorandum with financial information in there. You have to verify that financial information. We are having to verify environmental information now. In the UK particularly, there is an obligation upon directors to make sure that all of the claims that they make in respect of a company's environmental performance are accurate. The importance of verification cannot be understated. And it's even more important because we're getting more legislation. And if you are going to say we are in compliance, we have a low carbon strategy, we are reducing our greenhouse gas emissions by this much, you've got to put into place the verification procedures to show that that's the case and to show that you are complying with the relevant legislative drivers. And having looked at the way in which the states are approaching greenwashing, it can also be used as a tool to promote justice. And I know that tomorrow's session is about environmental justice, and I really do wish I could be here to listen to that, but I can't. So I just wanted to say this as a parting shot. If you have a company that is making spurious claims in relation to the environment, or individuals who are claiming that their products will create a better carbon platform, if they don't match up to that, shouldn't we as a society actually be saying it's wrong? And shouldn't we be saying, you can't make those claims? We wouldn't accept it if it was food labelling. We wouldn't accept it if it was in relation to our finances. So my point is, why should we accept it in relation to the environment? I hope I've provided some thought-provoking ideas, and I will leave the rest of the panel to deal with all of the difficult questions.
Thank you so much. In fact, as I said, I was very privileged to having you in this panel because, unfortunately, me too, I will not be able to be there tomorrow. I will not be in Athens tomorrow. So we had the possibility to include you in this panel. I guess we need to have a 10-minute break, not more than that, because Professor Polemarchakis must be leaving by 5, and everybody must have left by 5:30. Sorry? No, I believe we had too many speakers, and perhaps everyone needs to refresh his mind, but not more than 10 minutes. Thank you.
After the non-coffee break, I mean, we missed coffee. Something went wrong. Apologies. Horrible. You are telling me without coffee. Ooh. The question is the following, and this is addressed to all the panelists. I would like to take one concrete example. I made this introduction at the opening session, and this is concerning emissions in shipping. We have finished, as Union of Greek Shipowner Association, our visit to Brussels, and the situation goes like this. And I would like to understand the ideology of the question, according to what has been discussed about the situation, how it stands right now. Shipping is responsible 2%. Deep ocean vessels, I don't talk about tourist and leisure boats, and I talk about merchant marine and not coasters, passenger vessels. We talk about pure freighters. 2% for the emissions contributing to the global warming. The decision of European Commission is that unless a solution is found within 2011 through International Maritime Organization, IMO, under the auspices of United Nations, then European Commission is unilaterally going to apply ETS on the vessels. As far as shipping is concerned, this is not a problem, because whatever will come as ETS, that will be passed into the hire, into the freight, that will pass into the cargo to be transported. As an alternative of this, we're proposing something which is clearer, which is taxation for the bunkers consumed and according to an index of the polluting of the engine of the vessel. There's another suggestion from Denmark in the European Commission, which is linked to the ship's design index, because different vessels, different efficiency, and so on and so forth. And there's a long argument. This is not the issue. As far as shipping is concerned, if they pass something once, we'll pass it to the market. But the ideological question, according to what we're discussing, is the following. The first effort was, first of all, the question of the emissions is linked to the hull design of the vessels, and you can do nothing about the vessels which are already making transportation. So shipping society is open to any new design. It has to do with the efficiency of the engines, and yet it's the profound wish of shipping to have the best vessels with the best engines. Also, there's no problem into this. And then it's linked to the question of the quality of fuel we're consuming. Fuel, there is the problem in Brussels that whereas shipping is very dispersed, oil companies, they have strong lobby. So instead of getting the most refined, the best quality of fuel, then they say, we give you whatever fuel is convenient to give for shipping, and then they came with an idea which is called the scrubbers, which is a peculiar mechanism that we take the sulfur and various things out, and then we deposit the residuals, which is a very complicated, expensive, and non-efficient thing. And whatever it is, we intend to pass it over, there's no problem. The big issue is the following. Whereas in European Union, we are prepared to consider any practical solution, in IMO, things are blocked through United States, China, Brazil, and India. Should the situation will be that these major countries will block any decision in IMO, and European community will take decisions which will apply within European community. In practice, that would mean that you are going to have any of the freights for commodities moved to from European Union countries, which will mean loss of competitiveness versus China for their, say, between, if you take the trade between East Coast, South America, and Mediterranean, then by applying these levies or taxes, the imports will become more expensive from South America, and our exports will lose competitiveness because of this overcharge versus China or India or wherever else. So my question is the following. On the one hand, Europe wants to apply the good practice. That's what I suspect. But where is the international governance who will force the ones who misbehave to do something in order not to gain comparative advantage on enabling content on economical terms like Europe? Because Europe, Greece, of course, is in a very bad state, but I would not imagine that's a paradise in Europe, nor in the United States. So my question is, according to what has been discussed before, what can be done with nations which are reluctant? Because to my point of view, it's not correct that we take decisions which, according to what Professor Ashford mentioned before, that we have also to consider the question of employment. Because if we lose competitiveness, there's a problem. And I fully agree that green economy and greening, environment, economy, they have to go together, but it has to be across the globe. So with what way we can exercise pressure to these nations? Because otherwise, we defeat our own purpose. Sorry for being long.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I would be a preference to those who would like to ask questions to Professor Polemarchakis, because he's going to leave us first. And in this frame, please do not hesitate to take the floor. Ambassador.
Professor, I regret that you used my title. I just wanted to appear as a simple member of the audience. In this capacity, as a simple member of the audience, I think that I should express my deep gratitude for the extremely stimulating presentations of all the panelists, and also a tremendous food for thought for the simple citizen. Now, my question, from the discussion this morning, as well as the interventions this afternoon, I registered two common denominators: be it the economy or be it the environment. In the first case, we almost reached the precipice. In the second case, the precipice is very near. I also took note of the very imminent big problem looming ahead, the lack of jobs. Now, the second common denominator that I registered between what was said this morning and this afternoon is that the problems are systemic, and the changes that need to be made are fundamental changes, because this economic crisis, apparently, from what was being said by you, is not just one cyclical phenomenon of a downturn. It's much more, it's deeper, it's much more fundamental. Now, most of you offered prescriptions, suggested solutions, mentioned key areas where the problem lies, which evidently require this radical change. Now, 2 years after the crisis that erupted in 1998, there have been some initiatives, undoubtedly, like, for example, the G20 somehow replacing or supplementing the G8. But are you really detecting initiatives, moves? I'm thinking also of an alliance that could take place between the universities and the civil society, the NGOs, so as to speed up this need for fundamental changes, this need for the radical solutions to take place, and for us as members of the society to start behaving differently. Are you detecting in these 2 years the roots of the beginning of change? Thank you.
Professor?
Professor Polemarchakis. We have the most, I wouldn't say criminal, but one of the most dangerous phases in our economy, the economic crisis. What is his suggestions to the government for the therapy of the crisis? Thank you.